Well, everyone, believe it or not, 2023 has actually been a very, very good year to buy certain things in the gaming PC market. And no, not everything. Things like GPUs and certain motherboards have been so bloody expensive. But right now, what I want to do is, instead of telling you to buy every single sale out there, I want to tell you what you should buy and why you should probably buy it right now. So a lot of that is because 2024 is going to likely bring a pretty big change in the market. There's a bunch of products that are popular right now that are being simply discontinued, or in order to find equivalent products next year, you're probably going to have to pay a lot more. So that's why I wanted to get into certain specific categories where you could get some amazing values right now that might not be around later. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do is sort of eliminate certain categories from this video altogether. So first of all is monitors. Now, monitors, they've reached that sort of like commodity item level. That means there's very little forwards progress when it comes to most monitor technologies. So if you go out right now, you can get an amazingly priced, very decently spec'd monitor for a pretty good price. Of course, Black Friday, Boxing Day here in Canada, we'll probably see those prices come a little bit lower, but get the best thing that you can afford. The same thing goes with peripherals. Peripherals have basically hit a plateau. There's very, very, very expensive ones. There's very, very well-priced lower end ones that'll probably fit a lot of people's budgets. The best thing I can tell you about the peripherals market right now is go out, buy the best you can afford, and one that actually fits your gaming style. And of course, check out our reviews for all of those things. The last thing that's probably hit a pretty big plateau is cases and power supplies. I'm not going to be touching on those either. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is, believe it or not, the storage market. So here's one of those examples of a market that is probably going to increase in price in 2024. A lot of NAND flash manufacturers have actually been putting up those red flags and saying, hey, we're going to see some extreme price increases in 2024 because in 2023, inventory levels of NAND flash are absolutely through the roof. And because of that, 2023 has seen some of the lowest prices for high capacity SSDs throughout the entire year from tier 1 manufacturers like Samsung, Crucial, and some others. Even us Canadians have got in on the action with a couple of amazing prices right now. Now, the other thing you have to take into account is that Intel is trying to wind down their Optane division, which means that those SSDs, which have some of the best reviews out there, especially for longevity, are hitting rock bottom prices right now and probably for the foreseeable future until they clear out most of the stock. But those things, the only problem is the fact that they are relatively low capacity. So like rip your SSD if you want to install a couple of today's games on there. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, of course, hard drives. Now, hard drives every single year, it seems like this time of the year is just the time to buy huge capacity storage with traditional spinning drives. But believe it or not this year, because a lot of those manufacturers have drawn down inventory while focusing on some of their higher end enterprise drives. But there are a couple out there that are incredible deals right now. Basically, what you should be looking at is about $15 per terabyte. Anything at that level or below is a screaming hot deal.
The really capable Performance 1 FD is now available in white, the perfect complement to matching or contrasting hardware with all the same great features. 4 thick fans deliver proper airflow for the 40 series and below. There's a temperature display so you know when things get hot, support for dual 360s at the same time, 10 gigabits per second Type-C, and a whole lot of character with that front grille, dual TGs, cable covers to hide the mess, and Antec is really turning things around. Pick your own color and enjoy this awesome full tower.
Now, the memory market is something else that has been absolutely flooded with inventory for most of 2023, and we're reaping the benefits right now. So if you look at where we're seeing most of those cuts, it's actually in the DDR4 market, simply because we're seeing the gradual transition between DDR4 and DDR5. But there's a lot of stock left of DDR4. Now, you might be thinking, look, that's yesterday's news. Who cares about it? But it is relevant for so many people, especially for AM4 users. If maybe you picked up one of those X3D chips that was that screaming hot deal, it's actually on sale again, and you're looking to increase capacity, lower latency, and also increase the speed. Those last two elements, the latency and the speed, benefit AM4 users so much, specifically in gaming. DDR5 modules, on the other hand, well, we haven't seen quite as many deep price cuts in that market, but that doesn't mean that people building new systems are completely out of luck. That's because if you compare now to the beginning of the year, you can actually buy higher speed, lower latency modules than you could at the beginning of the year for about the same price. Now, what happens if you're looking for a full system update? You're probably looking for a new motherboard and a new CPU, but I did not want to focus on the latest and greatest from Intel and AMD because those are typically so overpriced relative to the previous generation, and you're really looking at very little sum game. So what I wanted to focus on here is Z690. Now, Z690 loses absolutely nothing to Z790 other than a few minor features. But at the same time, you can bundle a Alder Lake CPU with a Z690 motherboard and come out like crazy far ahead when it comes to price to performance. The only caveat is that those boards are rocking DDR4 memory. But we've shown in a couple of videos that Alder Lake does not lose one iota of performance to DDR5 if it's running the correct DDR4 modules. And that's a pretty big thing to take into account, because if you're running like DDR4 3600 with low latency, that Alder Lake CPU is running in Gear 1. Now that means, from a CPU perspective, ultra low latency, and games absolutely love that. So think of this system upgrade as a way that you could sort of like bring your own DDR4 or capitalize on some of the ultra low prices for DDR4 right now. Now, the only thing that I wouldn't recommend is for AM4 users to jump onto the Intel Z690 platform right now, even though these might look like some absolutely screaming hot deals. Simply put, it's a dead-end platform, so you have no space to upgrade. What I would recommend is that AMD is likely coming out with new X3D chips sometime in the next couple of months. Those are a simple drop-in upgrade for AM4 users. Or, like I said before, you could grab the 5800 X3D right now and just be miles ahead of where most Intel users will be anyways. And speaking of gaming, GPUs is probably one of those areas that you want to look at previous generation designs in order to get the most bang for your buck. We actually showed that in the video right up here with today's quote-unquote budget GPUs. It's not the newest and greatest GPUs that are going to get you the best performance. What you should be looking at is something like the RX 6600, the RX 6700 series. Those are phenomenal GPUs that will get you amazing price to performance ratios, even at their slightly higher prices that we saw before this week. Now, the biggest thing we need to take into account about the RX 6000 series is that AMD hasn't officially announced it, but it looks like they will be stopping production. So this might be the last hurrah to get one of those cards at the rock bottom prices. We also won't see any of the higher end cards being discounted because a lot of that inventory has completely sold through. Like, remember last year we were seeing RX 6900 XT models going for some ridiculous prices. Well, we're not seeing that at all this year. There might be a couple of rebates here and there, but nothing like there was. The sweet spot right now is in the $400 and under markets. I'll also caution you against the Intel Arc series, and I'm sorry, I really need to do this, because for it to be a good value for you, the A770 has to go below $225 according to our calculations, and it just hasn't done that. But the A750, we're actually seeing that trend downwards, $180, $190, and that might actually be a very, very good price to performance ratio for people who don't want to spend more than $200 on a gaming GPU. There's one other thing I didn't really mention yet, and that's cooling. A lot of all-in-one liquid coolers are hitting some record low prices right now, but I would actually tell you just to avoid that market for the time being and wait for a bunch of our roundups that we have coming up. So where are we going to go? And that's to air cooling. And there's only one recommendation that I really have. Right now, if you're going to buy a cooler and you have access to them, look at Thermalright. I just cannot emphasize this enough. They are flooding the market right now with model after model after model, and every single one of them is amazing when it comes to the cooling performance it delivers for the price they're asking for it. And none of these right now are their absolute lowest prices, but you can't go wrong. They're under $40 for D15 level performance, especially when you look at something like the Phantom Spirit on today's latest processors. Somehow Thermalright has found a secret sauce, and they are delivering incredible class-leading performance. On the other hand, look, be quiet, nice try, but that price, still not good enough. You're gonna have to go lower than that. Now let's switch gears from the gaming PC component market to the gaming laptop market. And this is where things sort of go off the rails a little bit from what I typically tell you. Because usually at this time of the year, what I say to everybody is look at last year's model. You might get a little bit of a performance cut, but you get to save hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But that's not the case this year. I mean, sure, you can find some 2022 models with decent specs for under $1,000, but it's actually the 2023 models that are getting the best deals. And those lower prices right now on 2023 models, well, I would actually recommend that you go out and grab one of those. You can get some really, really good specs for under $1,500. Even Canadians, there are some RTX 4060 and 4070 laptop deals that are pretty hard to pass up. The only thing they have to take into account is a lot of the times those will come with a significant reduction over high-end models when it comes to build quality. And the other thing that we need to mention, and why I'm saying that you should go out and buy a 2023 model right now, is the fact that 2024, we don't see any major progression in gaming laptop performance. Intel's 14th gen on gaming laptops, well, that's just going to be another Raptor Lake refresh like we saw on the desktop side. So basically, you're going to see incremental performance increases and probably battery life decreases. On the other hand, AMD's Strix Point is looking to be released probably closer to the end of the year, and availability for AMD laptops, that usually comes months after they're actually announced. So maybe December next year, we're going to see some new generation AMD designs. Also, RTX 4000 series are staying around for 2024. So again, you might see some incremental performance increases, but nothing that would significantly beat a 2023 GPU. So look, go out right now, buy one of those 2023 gaming laptops, and you can have confidence it's going to have a lot more longevity than previous generations really had. And I know this is not a gaming laptop, but when it comes to upgrading one of these, if you've got a thin and light, or if you're looking for a thin and light, that is where I would recommend you pump the brakes. I've actually pumped the brakes because this X1 Carbon, it's old. It's got an 8th gen Intel chip, and it's starting to really show its age, but I haven't upgrade it yet because I know what's coming in 2024. Meteor Lake U and what AMD has coming should push thin and light laptops really into the next generation, both when it comes to power consumption, so lower power consumption, and higher performance. So anyways, with all that being said, I really hope that this video is helping you make a more informed purchase at this time of the year when there's so much pressure on you to just buy everything. So I'm Mike with Hardware Canucks. I hope that you enjoyed this content, and I will certainly see you in the next one. Have a great day, guys, and have a happy holiday season.